My girlfriend made these sugar cookies, and we made our own frosting. Real good. Real good. I've always been told that I'm kind of like a fast editor, and I think part of that is because of the environment that I'm used to working in. I have really tight deadlines most of the time, and I have to, get stuff out fast, and I have to produce a lot of stuff, sometimes really quickly. So today I want to talk about 3 fundamental things that I try to keep in mind when I'm editing that I think help me produce content faster. And take any of these things or leave any of these things. This is just my process. This is what I do. And if it works for you, that's great. If it doesn't, that's good. Everybody's approach to editing is different, and I think it's important to be mindful and open to change. So before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and it really helps my channel, my little fledgling YouTube career here. I'm kind of a perfectionist, and it makes me neurotic. It also drives me crazy. But one of the ways that I have to do that is just make a rough cut. Get to the rough cut. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. Really what I'm trying to is create a skeleton for the final product. I guess what I'm looking for when I'm going through that first cut is a story. Oftentimes when you're interviewing people, if you're interviewing people and you ask them to tell a story, you'll have this really unfocused chunk of text from them where it's could really honestly be 10 minutes to tell a very simple thing. So when I'm interviewing people, one of the things I like to do after they, go through that bit of explaining or telling a story is just have them simplify what it is they just said in a more compact way. So if you had to describe that experience in 1 or 2 sentences, how did that make you feel? And asking those questions, especially attaching some type of sensory to it, will get you those pieces where you can really cut that out, and it sets some context to the story. Start with the ending. Start with the beginning. Start with the ending. And then what that will do for you is it'll give you a roadmap for all the pieces in between. I mean, especially when you're looking at 3 hours worth of interviews, being able to understand the trajectory of where you're going will really really help you cut down on the amount of time that you spend just listening to the same thing over and over again. When I'm talking to somebody, I'm trying to take mental notes. I'm trying to catch phrases that they're saying while they're saying them, and trying to kind of make a mental note when I'm recording of a timestamp. Sometimes I don't have the luxury of doing this because I'm the only person on set, and I have to manage other things like making sure that the audio is still working. But just making a mental time note if you can. Oh, okay, this happened at 18 minutes. This is a really good chunk of time. Let me later write that down and go back and look at this segment and say, okay, great. I also try to not be too precious with it. I know that it can become a trap to try to put in all the nuances and, color grade it the best that you can when you're trying to just get that draft done, but really just push to the end. Get something together and try not to make it, your darling. You want to kill your darlings, as the saying goes. So one thing that really helps me actually is editing to music. I kind of know that this is not the... Maybe this isn't the conventional way to do this, and maybe you have a different approach to when it comes to, but for me, music always carries the theme. And what music can do when you're editing is it can help you find where that next moment needs to go. I think music is a really great way to have a build into what it is you're doing, so you're not just, you don't want to start with the drama and have nowhere else to go. You want to have this sort of natural journey throughout your piece. And for me, being able to splice together the whole piece as it's underscored really helps me get to the end when it comes to pieces. It helps me find moments of vulnerability. I might have in the interview, I might have a place of vulnerability that somebody is sharing something kind of secret. I can find the moment and build the moment that person reveals that thing, and I can get that cue from the music. So editing to music definitely helps. And for me, it's almost like something snaps. Like once I find the right song, once I find the right sort of movement to the piece, everything kind of falls into place after that. And sometimes that happens afterwards, which can feel like a little bit of a clunky process because I'm like trying to then put this monolithic piece and match it to music, and like one part of it might work but like another part of it might not work, and so it's kind of like but when I find songs, when I find something that can help kind of speak the subtext of what this whole thing is about, help amplify the language, amplify the imagery, then I'm good to go. So that's tip number 2. Yeah, so this is probably one of the most important and sometimes the most challenging for me, depending on the shoot. I always find it so useful to just, when I'm done shooting, look through the footage. Because everything is just fresh in my brain, it's fresh in my memory. I don't have to I don't have days between where I'm like, oh yeah, the longer I get away from a process, the foggier it becomes in my head. And there's certain things like with documentary where you might be working on it, you might have footage that's 6 months apart, and you have to work in that way, but defining your relationship to the footage that you have and being able to work with it kind of immediately after the experience, at least in my experience, has really helped me own my intention. Otherwise I forget, and it kind of, can very quickly become oh wait, what was this moment supposed to be? If I wait even 3 days, 3 days can mean the difference between 1 week and 2. And yeah, so depending on the project, I would say always at least look at your footage after it's done. Make sure you have what you need, especially if it's something that's timely and you need to recapture it. You don't want to wait and then be like, oh crap, I actually need this. So I think that is going to be it for this video. I mean, really fundamentally, when I'm thinking about editing, those are the really important things for me. It helps me stay focused. It helps my work stay a little bit more structured, so I'm not, off in the weeds somewhere trying to remember what it was that I had intended to do. It helps me stay true to my planning and to my vision. I think it's also really important to allow things to change in the editing room. I'm not a big planner. I think it's important to go into a shoot with ideas for what you want to capture, but I also think it's really important to improv and to go into it with an open mind so that you're not so confined in a box that you miss really important and revealing details about whatever it is you're shooting. And so because of that, I tend not to be married to an image of what something needs to be. But I also think that when you start editing something, it's okay for it to change. That's kind of that's kind of the beauty of it. You can allow your image, your vision for what the story is that you were wanting to share. You can really discover what that means in a deeper level when you start editing it. And I think try to be as open as you are when you're shooting and capturing footage. Try to keep that openness when you're editing, and especially when you're just trying to get through the first draft of something. If there's serious edits that need to be made, chances are those serious edits would need to be made regardless if you spent that extra time into it. So try to get an idea of it out first, let the client comment, let them bring their feedback into it, and then spend more time on that second round finessing things and changing things. And I think you'll find that helps. It definitely helps me. It definitely helps my focus. Anyway, Happy holidays. I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's staying well. Please continue to socially distance, wear your mask, protect each other, protect yourself, protect your family members. We are still in this pandemic and it sucks. And I am just as excited as the next person for this to all be over. But in the meantime, we still have to protect our community. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support that you've given the channel. Hope you found this information useful. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And please take care as always. Happy holidays and